Hi, everyone. This is Melissa Anger. Thank you for joining us tonight for the pre-competition webinar. On the line, we have Anna McCauley, Competition and Venue Director, as well as Steve Bennett. Steve will be going over the general slides later in the webinar. So we will thank you again for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you had a great holiday weekend and are looking forward to summer games as much as I am. Before you'll see our agenda for this evening. We'll go over the competition teams, schedules, our map, some general information, and general summer games information. And at the end, we will open up for any questions that you might have. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded. So if you have a question, please raise your hand, and Melissa, the moderator, will be able to see those particular questions.
Also, if you want to type in a question, I'll be monitoring those as well, and I will stop or pause Anna at an appropriate time, or wait till the end to get those answered for you also.
Okay. Your competition and head official rules, of course, are myself and Greg Collins, which many of you are familiar with. He has been officiating with us for the last 11 years. Our national governing body remains the same as far as the National Federation of State High School Association, and the Special Olympics cheerleading sports rules of competition will govern our competition. We'll go over our event schedule. This event schedule will also be emailed out after the webinar. We are having the teams check in between 9:30 and 10. Coaches, I ask that you please communicate to your families and athletes not to arrive at the Towson Center prior to 9:15. I know that everyone's excited to get there and to get situated, but the venue team may still be setting some things up, and at times it is a little bit difficult if we're having athletes that we're needing to maneuver around. Your head coaches meeting will be at 9:40. You will meet me in the center of the mat. We'll have a brief welcoming ceremony that will begin roughly at 10:15. I had sent an email to coaches asking for nominations for the Pledge of Allegiance and the Athlete's Oath. Unfortunately, at this time, I haven't received any nominations. So if you could please send those to me by Friday, I would greatly appreciate it, so that I can notify the athletes that have been selected and add their information into the script. Lunch is anticipated to arrive around 11:15 a.m. to 11:30. Then you'll see the schedule is before you. I'm not going to read, obviously, line by line item, but we'll begin with hip hop and we'll end with elite. You will notice that there is an official break that is implemented in the schedule this season. Officials have asked for this small break, to step away to the bathroom and have something to drink, because they are generally sitting at the table for several hours at a time. I am happy to let everyone know that the young athletes from Montgomery County will be giving us a short performance at the end of our competing. We will set up for awards, and then the award ceremony will follow immediately thereafter. Summer Games Master Schedule. These are some general schedules just for everyone's knowledge. On Thursday really doesn't pertain to the coaches here, but your delegation will be registered, and then there'll be a head of delegations meeting that evening. On Friday, this is your schedule on Friday. Again, there's quite a bit of information on here. This is for summer games as a whole. But for the cheerleading competition, you'll see that competition is slated to begin at 10, and we are anticipating to be completed around 3 o'clock p.m. Don't forget that there will be the block party on lot 20 and the staging for the parade of athletes for opening ceremonies, and then opening ceremonies is slated to begin at 7:30. The remaining head coaches meetings are for the other sports. Cheerleading obviously will have lunch, and for delegations that are staying overnight, generally most of the cheerleaders are not, they will have dinner in the Susquehanna dining area at University Union.
And Anna, this is Steve. Just one point of emphasis there for the staging of the parade of athletes for the opening ceremony. As noted here, it's been a switch this year where we're doing a selected delegation members. There's about 8 to 10 individuals from each county or area program that will be selected from within their delegation to represent their fellow competitors in a condensed parade of athletes. So all other individuals, if you're not part of that official march-in portion of the parade, will be asked to go ahead and take their seats in their designated area in the CQ Arena, and then start to enjoy the parade of athletes and then the rest of the programming for the opening ceremony.
Saturday, this is a schedule of everything that will be occurring on Saturday for the other competitions such as bocce, softball, athletics, and the swimming competitions. There is a softball game and home run derby that will be occurring Saturday evening at 5:30, which is a fun thing to take in. The dance for the athletes will be from 6 to 9 p.m. in lot 20, and our theme this year is Kings and Queens, and there will be a family reception later that evening, and the meals and the coaches meetings refer to the other competitions that will be taking place, but you will be able to see if you're athletes or you are coaching other sports. The tentative schedule for Saturday for those items as well.
And a new thing this year as well, you'll notice here for the meals on Saturday, the past few years we've been able to combine dinner going straight into the dance activities on Saturday evening in lot 21 at Towson Center. This year, we will not be having dinner out by the CQ Arena as part of the Olympic Park. All athletes will go back on Saturday evening to Susquehanna dining area, have dinner there, and then they'll be transported back up to lot 20 for the dance. So again, that is a new thing we want to emphasize this year. So Saturday dinner back at Susquehanna dining in the University Union, and then we'll head back up to Olympic Park in lot 20 by the CQ Arena.
Sunday schedule is a bit shorter. As the venues are wrapping up their competitions and the medaling rounds are occurring, competition will begin at 8, and based on the venues completing around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then you'll see the shifts for breakfast and lunch, and there are no dinners that are served on Sundays. We have 2 locations this year. The first map that you see before you is the cheerleading venue map. The venue setup has remained the same and will so again for this year. To the left of your screen is where you enter and your head coaches will check in your teams. Then you will go into the main gym. We will have delegation seating as we have in the past in the first 2 sets of the bleachers, and then families and other spectators in the remaining 2. You'll note I have noted the foot traffic flow, that if you're needing to travel during the competition time, that we ask you to go across the bleachers and back through the hallway, not necessarily going back and forth while competition is occurring. Your warm-up area will remain the same. So I do ask for the safety of all present that you please keep the aisles, hallways, and any stairwells clear, and to please do not have any of the emergency exits blocked. Here you will see a general map of all of the different areas that we will be operating in throughout the summer games. It lists where the athletes competition, on-site softball, where the different dorms are that the athletes will be staying in, and parking. Alrighty, so general information for our competition on Friday. As I briefly discussed, registration will open at 9:30. Head coach only, please come and check in your teams. At that time, should you be aware that an athlete will not be competing, to please communicate that scratch at registration. Please speak to your athletes and volunteers and partners that they need to arrive 30 minutes prior to your team's scheduled warm-up. Unfortunately, we will not be able to make any alterations to the schedule due to any athlete or partner being present. If an athlete or partner isn't present by your designated on-deck schedule, that athlete or partner will be scratched from competition at that time. At the registration table, you will receive your delegation package, which will include a couple copies of the competition schedule, a venue map, and a cheergram for the head coach to complete and return to the registration table. That one will be read while your athlete is taking the mat. I ask you to please print so that is easy for our Master of Ceremonies to read your message to your team. Our general music for the venue will be provided by our DJ, Petey and Charlie, who have been with us for many years. We're happy to have them back with us again. Please remember to bring your music on CD. I highly recommend that you have more than one copy. Please do not use the writable CDs, as they have been found not to work on all systems. Your music check will be available from 9:30 to 10 a.m. You may want to assign a volunteer to have that check for you if your team is getting ready to go through the warm-up process. Please, please do not leave your music at the DJ's table. And also, it is your delegation's responsibility to cue the music during the qualifier. Several coaches had asked the volunteers there to cue their music, and that is not allowed. So please make sure that you do have someone designated to start and stop your music. And of course, we all know about the copyright laws. Thank you everyone very much for getting your proofs of purchases into me at the qualifier. We have those, so you don't need to worry about bringing another copy. And of course, the DJ cannot do any editing of your music with asking them to control the speed or fade it in or out. Your head coaches meeting, as I said, will be at 9:40. I will ask the Master of Ceremonies to make a quick announcement that that meeting will begin in just a few moments. At this time, I will go over any last major information. I really don't see much to go over. We will not be going over any division requirements or technical stunting questions. I will have the safety judge with us if he has any basic safety things that he would like to note from the qualifier. He really didn't have much noted, so that was wonderful. Just as a stress please make sure that you do have someone there if you need to be with your team and in the warm-ups area. But I do try to schedule this meeting actually before warm-ups begin, which is scheduled to begin at 10:05. We will follow the exact same format as we did at the qualifier. Your teams will go to the warm-up area, perform their routine on deck, and then directly onto the competition mat. Please remember, your warm-up mats are not the same size as the competition mats, so you will need to make adjustments accordingly. Please refer to your competition schedule for your warm-up and on-deck time so that you have your athletes at the different stations at the appropriate time. I always like to say this just for the safety of everyone, practices are only in the designated location. If your team is found practicing their routine in a location other than its designated, you have very good possibilities of being disqualified. We have never had this issue. Great job. And please, I know that none of you would do this, but I do always stress this, ensuring that you are not tumbling or stunting in any area that is concrete or hard surface. Deductions will occur. But again, we've never had this issue, and I greatly appreciate all of your cooperation. Spotters. We've spoken about this on many times. Your spotters are mandatory. If that stunt goes off the floor, a spotter must be present on the mat, and they are to be provided by your team at all times. This is including warm-ups. Your spotters have already been through this process, but just as a reminder, they are Class A volunteers and 18 years of age or older. Great job at the qualifier. Had very few watches or bracelets or jewelry, but please, as a reminder, please ask your spotters to double check themselves prior to progressing with the team through warm-ups and on the competition mat, and that they're not having watches, jewelry, dangling earrings, etc., and that they are in the proper foot attire, meaning tennis shoes. Just to go over competition etiquette, please do not walk on the competition mat or behind the judges. I ask you to please follow the foot traffic as was indicated on our venue map. If someone needs to speak on their cell phone, whether it be families, coaches, volunteers, we do ask out of respect that you take those conversations out into the lobby area. We do understand that there are conversations at times that do need to be held, but again, we do ask that you take those conversations outside. And while in the venue competition area, we ask that all phones be placed on vibrate or silent. We spoke about keeping everything nice and clear for the safety of everyone, and we ask that the teams and spectators please stay in their seats when a team is competing on the mat, so as not to have any distractions while they are performing their routine. And please, by all means, show your spirit.
Hey, Anna, we had a question about music.
Mm-hmm.
Are we able to ask the DJ to turn the music up for routines? The past few years have been very quiet, and our athletes with hearing impairments have had a hard time hearing their cues.
The answer to that question is yes, and the individual that is cueing the music can communicate that to the DJ, and I will also make note of that to speak with the DJ to be mindful of that, to turn their music up.
Thank you.
Our welcoming ceremony, we'll have a brief one. It will be an athlete unified partner and coaches will be selected by the area program to recite the oath. And those individuals that are selected, I do ask them to report to the Master of Ceremonies podium no later than 10:05. I will also ask the Master of Ceremonies to make that announcement a few minutes before so that we can gather everyone. Lunch will arrive roughly around 11:30. please have a volunteer or two prepared to go to the lunch area to pick up the boxed lunches. Usually one or two works very well. It is at your full discretion, coaches, as to when you would like to allow your athletes to have their lunch. I won't stop the competition at 11:30, but as indicated on the schedule, there will be roughly a 20-minute break for the officials, and this is also a great time for athletes, might be able to have their lunches. Cheergrams, we will have a cheergram table set up in the main lobby. I do encourage you to encourage your parents and anyone else that might be attending, if they would like to write a quick note of encouragement, tell all the athletes how wonderful they are, even your coaches, that they would like to write them, and they will be distributed by volunteers during the competition. But as I said before, the head coaches will be read while your athletes are taking the mat.
Anna, we actually have a hand raised. Rebecca, you are self-muted. So if you unmute your phone, then you'll be able to speak. There you go.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. What's the difference between the swimming on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
What specifically is your question, Rebecca?
I have, it was Francesca was concerned with not being able to get to some swim stuff.
There is swim competition that is being held on Friday afternoon. I believe that competition begins at 1.
Mm-hmm.
Anna, hi, this is Mike. I can let me address that if you don't mind.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
You're quite welcome. As was clearly stated with the swim coaches, at least, any athlete, we have competition on Friday for swimming, first time ever maybe. And athletes who are in cheerleading are not eligible to be in any of the swimming events that are offered on Friday. If they are registered for any of those events, they'll be scratched. So there should not be any conflict, no matter what the schedule is, whatever, even if they think they can rush over there, we're not going to put them in that position. So they can be in events just as they can be in track events on Saturday and Sunday. They can be in swimming events on Saturday and Sunday, but only those events that are offered on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. I don't know what events she was registered for, but somebody has already spoken to her from that end.
I don't know about speaking to her. It would have been addressed with the coach. This may be something, if we can, why don't we come back to this at the end, since it's kind of specific just to your athlete,
Okay.
and rather than keep the other coaches sitting there for that, but we can come back to that. And
Okay, perfect.
I may be able to look up some specific information.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
Yeah.
Alrighty, awards will be presented at the conclusion of competition. We will present those in the center of the mat as we have in the class. I'm asking the coaches' assistance with the venue competition volunteers when we are placing the teams on the mat, that we ensure that the center of the mat remains open for the athletes to walk and to form their single line to receive their awards from the officials. And we will pause between each team being awarded for our families and coaches to take pictures of the teams. But please note that I'll only be able to give, a little bit of time in between each team, and then we will need to move on to keep things on schedule. Results will be posted in the lobby of the Towson Center, and your score sheets will be available from pickup at the end of the competition from myself. I will most likely hand you your envelope directly after your team is awarded. For Towson, just to remind everyone that it is a smoke-free campus. And if you could please communicate to your families to please refrain from using any lighted and or vapor products on campus during any time of the Special Olympics 2019 Summer Games. We'll go over just some general rules of competitions. I am not going to read all of these, but these are the major ones that I do get asked most of the time. Yes, coaches, you may place your athletes in their first position on the floor. Yes, you may give both verbal and physical cues from your coaches' boxes. I think the coaches' boxes worked out very well at competition. The officials really appreciated it. Just on the verbal side, please don't out-cheer your athletes. Let the officials hear their voices. The coaches are not allowed on the floor once the routine starts. Please remind your individuals that are assistants as far as moving a wheelchair of an athlete or a walker, that once that assistance is finished, they've reached their next position, that those individuals must stand with their hands at their sides. They can give no cues whatsoever. And this is the same for a permanent safety spotter. Their main reason is to be there for the athlete that may have a safety physical condition, or maybe an athlete that may become concerned and they decide to leave the mat. That if that should occur and the individual is intervening to protect the athlete in that particular situation, there are no deductions, but there were a few spotters that were on the mat and were counting for the athletes and telling them where to go. This is not allowed, and I don't want anyone to get those deductions on their score sheets. So please just have that conversation with your spotters prior to taking the mat. Also, your tumbling skills, they need to remain in constant contact with your performance surface. The only team the only division that does not apply to is your elite division, which may complete a round off and one back handspring. So, please just be careful of that. There was one division where a skill was presented that was not within that division requirements. And again, I just don't want to see anyone receiving any deductions in that. Also, please make sure that your routines remain within the competition match area, meaning please don't have your entire team step off while some of your team members are tumbling. They need to remain at the edge of the mat. Now, if during the routine an athlete or unified partner accidentally steps off the mat for a second, that is nothing to worry about. Please don't have the whole team step off the mat when you're tumbling. Sportsmanship. Again, we've never had an issue with this, but just remember that your teams are being judged continually throughout the competition regarding their sportsmanship. So in other words, a team which is not performing may still have points deducted for unsportsmanlike conduct, but I do not anticipate that at all. Just a reminder on your scoring, if there is a division that only has one team in their division, which we do have this year, that they will not automatically receive first place. that they must score within 20% of the maximum points possible, or silver will be awarded. There are 5 panel judges and 1 safety. Your safety judge will be should there be any deductions from the safety official, it will be taken from your final score. And in the event that we should have a tie in any division, we will then use all 5 score sheets of the officials to break that tie. Reminder on your jewelry, nails, and glitter. Medical alert bracelets or necklaces are not considered jewelry. Please make sure that you have those taped over on your athlete by using the white athletic tape. If your athlete is allergic to that type of tape, that's fine, because I do know that there was one individual that could not use the tape, and they used the brown wrap instead, which was fine. Please make sure that your athlete's nails are trimmed and that polish is not being worn. And we all know this, but we'll just say it one more time. Absolutely, positively no glitter. Thank you. Steve, are you taking it from here?
Yeah, I can do this, Anna. Thank you very much. This is just an example of the codes of conduct. As noted at the very bottom of this slide, all of the codes of conduct are entered in, available for everyone in the event guide that has been distributed. Hopefully you've received that. We sent it out yesterday, I believe, to everyone in GMS, athletes, partners, coaches, volunteers, heads of delegation, etc. So it's also, which we'll make reference at the end of this, the event guide is also noted on our coaches resource page of our website. And again, so I'm not going to read through everything, but basically you guys know, as coaches, athletes, and parents look to you as a leader and setting the tone. So it's just respect for the judges, your fellow competitors, the athletes, each other, staff members, other volunteers, Towson staff. So it's the basic things that you would think that would be contained in a code of conduct. But in the event guide, it not only has the coach's code of conduct, it has the athlete and partner code of conduct, volunteer code of conduct, spectator and family code of conduct. So again, we have this for your reference. If you have parents that you need to remind what the code of conduct is, it's there for your use, and just be aware of that. So again, we'll go over some general information. Transportation for cheerleading, just know that lot 21 at Towson Center is available for parking. Again, we've moved the block party in Olympic Park to lot 20, so there won't be some of the setup issues that we have had to skirt around in previous years with the cheerleading competition and parking. That will be on a first come, first served basis. We will also, as we have had in the past, we will have shuttles if that lot does get full, right across the road on the other side of the stadium in lot 13 and 14. That's where other spectators and everybody can park. The shuttle buses will come from Towson University, which are wheelchair accessible, and they will make loops from lot 13 and 14, driving people up to Towson Center for the cheerleading competition. So the other thing I'll say there, I know last year there was parking attendants, etc., and we had some concerns with the lot being full and people wanting to just pull in real quick, drop people off, and then get out. If that lot does become full, we will work with you on a case-by-case basis to get people there and drop them off, and then go park in lot 13, 14 and get shuttled back. What I will request, I know you guys will all do this, but I think it's more to communicate with your family members. Make sure they get there on time. I know things happen, but the plan to get there on time or a little early, only because we always have issues with individuals saying, oh, they're getting ready to compete right now and we were running late. So just communicate that to everyone. Summer Games, other general updates. Again, we talked about the opening ceremony on Friday night with the condensed parade of athletes. The block party will be in lot 20 Friday night, leading up to the opening ceremony. Again, the dinner will be back at CQ Arena. At Susquehanna Dining at the University Union. If we do have inclement weather and everyone's staying for the opening ceremony, we will end up making those announcements and communicating out to the individuals that the block party and everyone will go to Towson Center as a backup for inclement weather leading up to the opening ceremony. If you haven't already, please communicate with your heads of delegation for those individuals that will be joining the opening ceremony. If there are any individuals who use wheelchairs or have mobility challenges, only because we want to make sure that our seating charts are accurate and reflect the needs of the athletes and others within the delegation and make the seating accommodations as needed. And you can see where to send that, but that should be coming from your head of delegation. Just make sure they're aware of that information if you have any individuals that have those challenges. Again, transportation, for those that are staying on campus or whatever, the basic things are there will be shuttles running throughout the campus from the dormitories to the dining facility to the competition venues, with the exception of from Residence Hall. If anyone's staying in Residence Hall, they will walk from that dormitory or that housing facility to Susquehanna dining area at the Union for their breakfast on Saturday and Sunday. Otherwise, if the bus is crowded, they do allow people to stand up on the bus for the buses that are circling campus. If anyone's going off campus to support one of the softball teams out at Cockeysville Middle School, you will have to be in a seat. There's no standing on the buses once they leave campus. At the end of the opening ceremony, just a reminder, delegations will remain seated until the MC designates and announces which county programs are now available to leave to get on the buses to shuttle back to their housing facilities after the ceremony. We will have some entertainment going on after the ceremony as people are waiting to board their buses, but we just ask people to be patient with that and follow the instructions as stated by the MC. Talked about the Olympic Park again. That'll be having some great entertainment and art activities, and a dance demonstration will be on Friday in the block party, and then Olympic Park will be open on Saturday. As Anna stated, the theme of the dance is Kings and Queens. I want to clarify what we're trying to accomplish with this. We've had questions, is that the TV show, or is that like prom night? No, this is kind of, think of Game of Thrones, or medieval times kind of thing. So just want to make that clarification so you can let people know. We also have, after competition with cheerleading is done, we convert the venue a little bit over to our Young Athletes program, which will occur on Saturday. If you're not familiar with the YAP or Young Athletes program, it's a really cool activity for kids ages like 2 to 6, and it's for kids that have intellectual disabilities, any disabilities, or anybody who doesn't have a disability. It's just a really cool program where we start the inclusion movement and the inclusion process, getting everyone to become friends and talking with each other and having fun with each other. And it's gross motor skills, so they're running, they're jumping, they're kicking balls, they're throwing balls, crawling through the tunnel kind of thing. So just a really cool thing. So if you have any friends and families who have little kids that age, bring them out. Have a good time. If they participate, they get a little certificate. It's just a really cool activity to start the inclusion movement at a young age. Healthy athletes. There will be healthy athletes this year, and we're working on confirming those locations, so we'll let the heads of delegation know. For those of you who are staying on campus, it's free medical screening from our clinicians and medical personnel that come and serve our population. And in some cases, it has literally changed lives and saved lives. So I know there'll be one talking about sunscreen and being out in the weather elements and some other good screening, and it's free screening. So take advantage of that. The families and athletes will be staying on campus for the summer games. Or you can come back. If you leave on Friday, come back on Saturday. Make sure you take advantage of those opportunities. Family services. I forget if Anna mentioned that there will be family services at cheerleading on Friday, and then throughout the weekend we will have 3 different locations for family services. There'll be one that serves both bocce and swimming over near Burdick Hall. Then there'll be another one at track and field for athletics. And then they'll have some services out at Cawkeysville Middle School for off-site softball. There'll be a family reception on Sunday evening, and that will be in the University Union in the Pauls area, which is the lower level. That's where it's tentatively scheduled at this point. And merchandise will be available in the block party, Olympic Park, and at the family locations as well.
Excuse me, Steve. For the cheerleading families hospitality, yes, it will be. It will be directly outside the main entrance. Debbie will be there with refreshments and information for families.
Great, thank you, Anna. Some more updates. We talked about meals. The only individuals that are receiving lunch on Friday is the officially registered delegation members participating in cheerleading. And also we will have some for the judges, obviously, and some volunteers here and there. So that is the only delegations that will be fed lunch on Friday, is those who have been registered and are part of the cheerleading contingent from each delegation. Those staying overnight, we talked about the dinner and breakfast areas there. And then again, just stressing the dinner on Saturday evening in the University Union, as that is a new thing this year. Control Center, for those of you who are not familiar with the Control Center for the overall games, that's over near the in the United Stadium on the top level in the Minigan room. That's primarily for heads of delegation to come and discuss any topics of concern or issues or updates that we have or they have for us. For those of you who may be staying on campus, there's a list of the different housing units. Jane Dunn, who works on our management team, has communicated all this information out to the heads of delegation. If you are staying on campus, just ask your head of delegation which one you will be staying in. So these are all new. We've used some of them in the past, but the residence tower is a new one, I believe, for Special Olympics Maryland, at least in the last few years. So if you are staying on campus overnight, reminder that on Saturday, if you're leaving Saturday, make sure you return your keys to the front desk. But if you're staying the whole weekend, Sunday upon checkout, you must return your keys to the front desk location. If not, there is a $75 fee that will be charged back to your county program for any keys not turned in. So nobody wants that charge, so just be mindful of that situation. The event guide, again, this is the location and the link to our coaches resource page on our website. If you haven't been there, it's really simple to get to and a lot of good information. You just go to the Special Olympics Maryland website, click on Coach, and then you go down, scroll down on the drop down, it says Coaches Resource, and you can click on there, and it has a certain section for cheerleading, a general section on summer games. You can share that. No codes or anything needed for this one. Family members, whoever wants to go and check out things, it's open to the public, so we just want to make sure everyone's aware, and you can drive people there for any updates and more information. Again, these slides will be posted there, as well as the webinar, so great information, and we just want everyone to be aware of that. We did send out the event guide, as I mentioned, so if you haven't seen that, just make sure or check with your head of delegation, see if you can get a copy, or again, go to our coaches resource page. Medical, we always talk about if you're there. Obviously, you guys are inside, but leading up to the event or after the event, if you're hanging out, bring your own sunscreen. We don't provide that for you because of allergies, etc. So you're on your own for that. But obviously, as the code of conduct says, take care of the athletes and make sure that they stay hydrated. And the bug repellent was primarily for bocce in the past, as it has potentially has some standing water areas down by the fields, but you never know. So again, we just want everyone to be prepared. So we really highlight the hydration part, as we want everyone to stay safe. Weather, as I said, we are always monitoring the weather, not only ourselves, but also in conjunction with Towson University staff. So our management team and Towson work very closely together. We'll be monitoring those situations. If something's coming up the road or whatever, we will be notifying individuals about any action plans that need to be taken. So just be mindful of that. If I know everyone has an app on their phone and everyone's checking the weather, until you hear an official word from your head of delegation or through the venue director, it's whatever venue your location is, just hold tight with us. That's how the information will be communicated. Transportation, we already went all over all that, so I won't hit any more notes on that. This is our social media. Obviously, we like to get our stories out and viewed by as many people as possible. Whether you've got family and friends in Alaska, California, West Virginia, wherever, this is where you can share those posts, share the stories, share pictures, encourage people to come out to support the athletes or just come be a part of the Special Olympics Summer Games. So we just want everyone to be aware of all of our social media outlets. So again, share those with anybody you would like, and we appreciate you giving us exposure on all the media outlets. Questions, if there's any questions, general information, like I said, is the resources there for the coach's resource page. Sports director, we're currently looking to fill a position here at the state office with a sports director. In the meantime, bocce is going to be overseen by Kara, and there's her information in athletics as Ron Freeman. Sport director for swimming is Zach Centron, and his information is listed, as well as cheerleading and softball, Melissa Anger, and then my name, Steve Bennett, again, for any general questions related to summer games. With that, we will take a few minutes to see if there's any questions that have come up throughout the evening, whether your hand is raised or you've typed in a question. In the meantime, while we're waiting on that, I think it was the Baltimore County coach who had a question in regards to the swimming athlete. If it is correct, Francisca.
Steve, I've already communicated with her through chat.
Okay, gotcha. I did research in the meantime as well, so all's good there.
All right, so if there's any questions, go ahead and raise your hand. I can unmute you. All right, looks like no one has questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to email myself and Anna, and we will definitely, as you know, get back to you. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We look forward to a great summer games.
And on behalf of Special Olympics Maryland, Melissa, Anna, the rest of the cheerleading committee and team, all of our staff here, we want to thank you as coaches for everything you've done supporting the athletes and partners leading up to this, as well as what you will do with them to prepare them to showcase all their skills at the summer games. So obviously without coaches, Special Olympics doesn't happen. So we just want to take that time and this opportunity to thank you for all of your efforts, your leadership, your commitment to the movement and to the athletes and partners. So thank you so much for this season. And I know some of you are also coaches in other sports, so what you do throughout the year to support the athletes and the organization. So thank you very much for everything.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.